Hi, hello, hi. So this is today's 6 o'clock, 6 to 7 webinar. Um, my name is Sean. I don't know if you've had me for a webinar before. I teach in Milan in the school on Via Meravigli, and I come from Ireland originally. And I have been in Milan since September. Today I'm with Michelle. Michelle, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle. Big surprise. I'm from Karachi, Pakistan, and I've been living in Milan for 3 years now. I'm a teacher with Sean in Milano Meravigli, and we're
Mm,
excited to do the 6 to 7 describing a city.
yeah. So, describing what there is in a city, describing what cities are like, and superlatives. So, talking about cities and then the grammar point of superlatives. So, can everyone who's watching please tell us your city? It's very, very relevant today. Michelle said she's from Karachi. I'm from Dublin in Ireland. I'm sure you've heard of it, hopefully. So, yeah, please tell us your city and where you're from. Yeah. So, we have Sabrina from Genova. Great stuff. Keep it coming. And I'll go to the first slide while you send those in. So, we have some questions. Michelle, can you read these questions, please?
Absolutely. Do you live in the city or the country? What are some advantages of living in a city? What are some disadvantages of living in a city? And what is your city famous for?
Great. So some more comments coming in. Maddie from Taranto.
We
Antonio.
have
Mm-hmm.
Fabio from Genoa and Mariano from Naples, Antonio from Puglia, Ariana from Milano. So excited. So many of you have joined us today.
Yeah,
Giovanni from Milano. Fantastic.
yeah. And this should be interesting because all the cities in Italy are so different, aren't they?
Mm, they
Yeah.
are. And whenever I travel, I end up going around Italy because there's so much to see in Italy.
Yeah.
It, oh, Ariana says hi. She's had a lesson with you before.
Great. Hi, Ariana. Welcome again to me streaming. It is nice to see the same people again. It's nice to
It
connect.
is. It
Yeah,
does feel a little more like the lessons we have in school
yeah,
itself.
yeah, certainly. But I'm much better with faces than names personally. So when I can't see someone's face, it's hard to remember. Hey, great.
Okay, so the first one.
Hmm.
What is the difference between the city and the countryside?
Yeah, so the city is an urban area. Be careful also because in English it's a large urban area. I would say a city has at least 100,000 people. It's not the same as città. Città is maybe like town, which is
Right.
smaller.
Hmm.
And then the country is also different because to live in the country in English means to really live in the fields, in nature. Whereas if you live in a small town or a village, it's not exactly living in the country. So again, be careful there. Yeah. So, do you live in the city or the country, Michelle?
I definitely live in a city. I've lived in a big city my entire life.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I grew up in the countryside in Ireland, so about 2 hours outside of Dublin. But I spent, I think, 5 years in Dublin for university, and also my family comes from Dublin. So Dublin feels very much like my city, but I grew up in the countryside. Yeah. So, what are some advantages of living in a city? We already have an answer from Madalena, Madi.
Mhm.
I think there are more advantages if you live in a city. For example, the means of transport, the markets, and other shops near the house. Yeah, definitely. Do you agree, Michelle?
Absolutely. I do love living in the city, and I think one of the advantages is definitely accessibility. So, public transport is there, it's easily available, it works well in most cases, and there's everything nearby. You have your supermarket, your pharmacy, your
Mm.
Zara, Mango.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Mm. Yeah, when I lived in the countryside, there was no public transport, no things to do. So that was definitely a disadvantage. So an advantage of the city, definitely.
Right. So you say another advantage could be having lots of options, so lots of
Mm,
things to do.
yeah, lots of facilities.
Facilities. Mariana
Mhm.
says that he lives in the city, and the main advantage is to stay close to family members and walk.
Yeah. Mm,
Right, that's true. If you live in a European city, you definitely get a lot of walking in.
yeah. Yeah, I actually didn't walk so much when I lived in the country. I do more now that I live in a city. Yeah. Okay. So the disadvantages then, of course, there are many. So the main disadvantage is to smog. So be careful here. Smog is not the adjective. The adjective is smoggy. And you would say too smoggy, which is correct, or too much smog. Too much smog. So be careful there. But yeah, for me, this is really a big one. I think, especially in Milan, it's a
Mm,
big, big problem, the smog. And the air in Ireland generally is very fresh, very clean.
mhm.
Is the air in Karachi clean, or do you have smog?
We do not have clean air. We have a lot of smog. And one of
Mm.
the main contributors to that is the pollution from cars.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Mm.
Antonio says in a city there are more opportunities than the country, but in the country there is less pollution.
Mm.
Absolutely. The lack of pollution is one of the best things, right? The
Mm.
air smells so fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big thing, it makes you feel better, it makes you feel good. And yeah, like that, I mean, with cars and traffic, there's certainly a lot of noise, a lot of disturbance. And I think when it's quiet in the country, it's easier to be relaxed or calm, I think.
So true. Absolutely. Magdalena says, apart from the smog, she thinks that the traffic in the city is a disadvantage as well. Definitely agree on that.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, great.
And
So the
lastly,
last question.
Just before that, Giovanni says that he lives in a big city and he thinks there are more advantages to live in a big city, such as public transports, cultural events, sports, and so on.
Mm, yeah.
And Sabrina says the city life is perfect because it's far more convenient.
Yeah. Good, good. Yeah, definitely. So, the last one, what is your city famous for? I'm definitely interested to hear everybody in the comments, their answers for this, so we can learn some more about your cities. So tell us what Brescia, what Naples, what Genova, what Taranto are famous for. I'm very interested. And we'll discuss our cities of origin, I think. So, Michelle, what is Karachi famous for?
Karachi, I would say the beach. We have the sea, the ocean. So we have a port and we have a beach, lots of beaches. So I think we're pretty famous for that. We're also very famous for our food.
Mm, good. What's the signature dish in Karachi?
Um, Biryani. I think it's a signature dish anywhere in Pakistan. Um, no, not anywhere. We do it really well.
Okay. Okay.
What about Dublin or the city where you grew up?
Well, yeah, I think I'll talk about Dublin because I didn't grow up in a town. It was the fields, so nothing really famous there. I think Dublin, I don't know if you've been. It's I think it's famous for its beer, for Guinness,
Mm,
for the production of beer, and with that come the pubs, the places to drink. And I think with that comes kind of a fun atmosphere. People talk about the kind of nightlife, a fun atmosphere in Dublin. I think that's kind of the main
mm.
appeal of our city, definitely. Mm,
Yeah, that sounds lovely. Very
okay.
exciting. Now, students are writing in.
Mm,
Sonia says that she lives in Bergamo, this tiny city, but there are many opportunities. Giovanni says, okay, so here he's talking about the disadvantages of the big cities. He says air pollution, traffic, a lot of noise, crowded areas. Um, and Sabrina says, my city is famous about aquarium. So I would say my city is famous for,
yeah.
not about,
Mm,
for is the preposition we would use. It's famous for the aquarium. Absolutely, Sabrina. I love the aquarium in Genoa. And I've been to it, and you can definitely
mm,
talk about it. Nico
great.
says he lives in Bari, and his city is famous for its culture and its food. Have you been to
Mm,
Bari, Sean?
good. No, never, but I certainly know that in Puglia the food is, yeah, very special. The mozzarella, I
Mm,
think, is really good. Yeah, most Italian cities have signature dishes anyway, I think.
this is true. Sonia says Bergamo is famous for the upper city and the walls. Magdalena says her city is famous for the sea and the food, namely the city presents two seas called Small Sea and Great Sea. Moreover, the fresh fish is our important food. Um,
Mm,
so next, Ariana says Milan is famous for Duomo's cathedral, but also it is very famous for shopping. So Duomo is a cathedral. So I don't think you
yeah,
need to say Duomo and cathedral. You could just say Milan is famous for its cathedral or for the Duomo.
exactly. Yeah.
Giovanni says Milan is famous for cultural events, urban architectures, city life, Bosco Verticale. historical monuments, Duomo, Sant'Ambrogio, etc. Sports and economy. Yes, Giovanni, I think you've nailed it all.
Yeah, everything there. A very diverse city, Milan.
It is. I do love Milan. Filippo
Hmm,
says that it's famous for its fashion district, even if he dislikes it.
really? Okay, great. Great stuff. So please keep writing in and we'll talk a little bit about the cities of the world. So making comparisons about cities from across the world, but we're not going to use the comparative, we're going to use the superlative. So here we have the two kinds of adjectives, short, big, and long, expensive. And the rules are different for both when you're forming a superlative. For a short adjective, you add est, the biggest, and for a long adjective, you put most before most expensive, exactly. So we have big, small, warm, cold, cheap, expensive, dangerous, safe, modern, ugly, beautiful, interesting, exciting, good, and bad. So lots of different adjectives to use. So, Michelle, which of these cities have you visited?
I've been to London, I've been to Florence, to Rome. I have not been to St. Petersburg. I have not been to Amsterdam. I haven't been to Toronto, and I haven't been to Rio de Janeiro. How about you,
Okay,
Sean?
okay, good. So, yeah, I've been to Florence, to Rome, and to Paris, and nowhere else. I haven't been to St. Petersburg, London, Amsterdam, New York, Toronto, or Rio de Janeiro. Hmm.
Elisa has said that Elisa says I live in Venice and it is famous for monuments, the beautiful square, and for the lifestyle, water taxi, gondolieri, and carnival. Brescia has Roman archaeological sites. The S. Julia Museum was and we need an article here, and because this is a vowel, we would say an ancient monastery, and there are, remember the verb to be, two very beautiful lakes. Because in English we always put the adjective first. Over here, we have Antonio who says his country is famous for extra virgin olive oil. So extra virgin, that would be Italian, right? And in English, we
Yeah.
would say extra virgin. So this is how we would write it. Um, Fabio says his city is famous for the lighthouse, and it's in English we usually don't give nouns a gender the way you do it in Italian. So we
Hmm.
wouldn't say his or her. We would just say its beautiful historic center. And
Yeah.
for pesto, okay. And now they've started writing in with their comparatives. Giovanni says Toronto is smaller than New York.
Hmm.
Good work. Um, I think Rome is the most beautiful town in the world. So I would classify Rome as a city. So Rome is the most beautiful city in the world. St. Petersburg is
Definitely.
colder, right? So St. Petersburg is colder than Florence. Filippo says Rio de Janeiro is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. Because if you're saying one of the most, you have to use a plural here. Um, and Nico says, I think Rio is more dangerous than other cities, but it is the most beautiful city of the world. Sonia says, in my opinion, Rome is the most beautiful and interesting city of all. It is definitely breathtaking. And Mariano says Rio de Janeiro is the most famous, most cheerful city of the world. That's a really sweet adjective. Cheerful.
It's nice.
Antonio says Amsterdam is more interesting than Florence. And Giovanni says, I think Amsterdam is one of the most safe cities in the world. Or over here, you could just say Amsterdam is the safest city in the world. Do you think it's the safest city, Sean?
Hmm.
Oh, Florence
Yeah,
is so
Florence
ugly.
is more ugly than Rome. No,
I would
I don't
not use that
agree.
word. I don't agree. I would not use that word to compare either cities, right? You just can't use the word ugly and Rome or Florence in the same breath. It's not possible.
Yeah.
Amsterdam is smaller than Toronto.
Hmm.
Fantastic work, guys. This was really, really good. We love that you interact. Keep writing in, and we'll read it out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely uglier also. Short adjective, uglier. Yeah, Filippo. Okay, great. We'll keep going.
Magdalena says,
Transportation in your
hmm, yes. What kinds of public transportation are there in your city? What is the easiest way to get around in your city? What time of day to travel in your city? What is the cheapest, most expensive way to travel in your city?
Great, great. So we still have some comments.
Mm-hmm.
So Rome and Florence. Yeah, I agree. Both. Let's not compare negatively. And I think Paris is the very good, she corrected herself, most romantic city in the world. Yeah, I think I agree, having been there. I would say Paris or Venice. It's a toss-up between those two.
Ooh, a toss
So,
up.
anyway, yeah, good. So these
So,
questions about transportation,
mhm.
yeah, very important subject with cities. We were talking about it as a big, big advantage of living in a city. So again, we will discuss the questions and please send in your answers for your city. So again, let's talk about our cities of origin. What kinds of public transport are there in your city, Michelle?
We have buses, but
Mhm.
that's about it. Nothing else.
Okay, good.
What do
Yeah,
you
we
have?
have buses as well. Yeah, we have buses. We have a kind of a train or a light rail, an urban train, and
Hmm.
we have a tram. And yeah, that's it. We have taxis as well, obviously, but that's not public, really. Hmm. Okay. So, what is the easiest way to get around in your city, Michelle?
I think the easiest way would be in a car, definitely,
Yeah.
because a lot of traffic is really bad.
Okay. Yeah,
And in
for
Dublin,
Dublin. Yeah, for Dublin, it's the buses are the most common. They go the most places, but they aren't very efficient. I think the train, if you're on the train lines, they are a much better form of transport. But driving in Dublin is very bad. The streets are very narrow and there's a lot of traffic. So it's not a good idea to drive. And there's no parking either. So it's definitely not
Right.
the easiest way. Yeah, we have a
So
lot of answers coming in.
we do. Okay, we have Fabio who says we have buses, theatre buses, a little metro, and a lot of elevators. And funiculars, what would that be?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mariana says, in my city, the easiest way to get around is to walk.
Mm,
Um, or you could say on foot. That is another way to
yeah,
say when you travel on your feet, that is when you walk, you can say, I'm going to come by foot.
definitely, yeah. Mm. So, Giovanni, the public transportation in Milan is fantastic. This is a mistake I've seen a few times actually. In English, public transportation is uncountable. There's no plural. Public transportations, no, just public transportation is fantastic. Yeah. There are four metro lines and a lot of buses and a historical tram. Yeah, there's the historical tram here, which is very a nice atmospheric way to see the city. Yeah, great. Okay. So, a lot of answers. The public
Mm-hmm.
transportation are bus and underground, but I prefer to use bicycle and go on foot. Yeah, definitely also cycling. I didn't think we mentioned. Yeah, bicycle, car sharing. Yeah, a lot of great answers coming in. Yeah, good. So, what's the worst time of day to travel in your city, Michelle?
The worst time, I think that would have to be rush hour. So rush hour is the time when traffic is at its worst. And that would be the same time it is in most big cities when the offices start closing for the day. So around from 6 to 8, that is the worst time to travel.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the same everywhere, pretty much. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Funicular is a cable railway. Okay, I would say cable car in English. Would you use this term, Michelle?
Yes, I definitely would. I would say cable car as well.
Yeah, cable car. Yeah, if you live in the mountains, that's very common, I think. Yeah, so many answers.
Giovanni says the cheapest way to travel in Milan is public transportation and the most expensive is the taxi. Ariana says that the worst time to travel in Milano is the morning when the people go to work and the evening when they return at home. So yes, you're absolutely right. Just a few corrections. The worst time to travel in Milano is in the morning when people. We usually don't say the people in English. We just say people go to work, and in the evening when they return home. Home is the one place we usually don't put a preposition. You would just say, I am going home, I need to return home. You don't need a preposition before it, right? But if you were to say, I am
Mhm.
going to Sicily, before Sicily, you would need the preposition to. If you said, I am going to Bologna, still need the preposition. Antonio says, in my city, there are buses. So public transportation is not a countable noun, but a bus is a countable noun, right? So you would say buses. This is the same rule that applies to furniture. Furniture is uncountable. However, you can count tables and chairs. So there are buses, but the easiest way to get around is the bicycle. The worst time of day to travel is lunchtime because there is traffic, and the most expensive way to travel is taxi. Gino says the worst time is to work. So we would say everyone goes back home. Okay? Um,
Yeah.
and we would use a third person, so goes. In Genoa, after the fall of the bridge, it is always the worst time to travel in the city by car or by something else. Right. So the bridge was an important
Yeah.
feature there.
Mm. Yeah, very good. Okay, great. So people are very animated about transport. It's a very important issue, isn't it?
I like that. I appreciate that you guys understand the importance of this conversation.
Yeah. For me, it was a motivation for leaving Dublin because the transport in Dublin is really not very good. So it made me want to leave the city. Mm.
I completely understand, and I think I couldn't live in a city where the transportation was bad because it really does
Yeah,
impair your
definitely.
quality of life.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. So, what's your city like? So we have some adjectives here: large, ancient, touristy, polluted, chaotic, cultural, expensive, lively. And then we have some definitions or explanations of those. So if you could try and match them up, everyone, what goes with large, what goes with ancient? So the same meaning. Yeah? And yeah, another note, what's your city like? The use of like here is for description. When you see what and then like at the end of the sentence, it's for describing something. So, what's your city like? What's Michelle like? A description of Michelle. Yeah, we use like in this way in questions in English. Hmm. Yeah, so while they match them up, how about we talk about whether or not Karachi and Dublin are these adjectives? So I'll
Hmm.
start. I would say Dublin is not a large city. Is Karachi a large city?
It is an enormous city.
Oh, okay. What's the population?
20 million.
Oh, wow, it's very
Hmm.
big. There's not
It
that many people in all of Ireland. Yeah.
it is very big.
And
Magdalena has a question. What does polluted mean?
mm,
Polluted is when the quality of air is bad, when there's smog, when it's dirty, when the surrounding area is dirty, for example.
exactly. Yeah. How about ancient? Dublin, I would say yes. It is an ancient place. There's a lot of monuments and things like that. Karachi, ancient?
No, no, no. We
Okay.
only go as far back as to British rule. It's a pretty new city.
Okay, good, interesting. Dublin is very touristy. For me, it's too touristy. Is Karachi touristy?
Not really.
Okay, okay, good.
We have 20
Polluted?
million people. We don't need more tourists.
Yeah, definitely.
Polluted? Yes, it is polluted.
Okay. Dublin, no, I don't think it's a big problem in Dublin. It's not a very dense or highly populated city, so no, it's okay. Chaotic. I would say Dublin, even though it's small, is quite chaotic with the tourists and things like that. Is Karachi chaotic?
Definitely.
Yeah. Dublin is, yeah, cultural. There's definitely a lot of art and events and things. Karachi, is it cultural?
A little, but there are other cities which are more cultural, so not
Okay.
really. I
O-
struggle to say yes.
Okay, so it's not the cultural capital of Pakistan.
No, definitely not.
Okay, okay. Dublin is definitely cultural capital of Ireland, no
Mm.
question. Is it expensive, Karachi?
Yes,
Oh, okay, yeah. Dublin is definitely very expensive. I would say even more expensive than Milan, which is saying something.
no,
Lively.
Karachi is expensive for Pakistan, but it's not expensive when you compare it to European standards. So
Yeah.
Milan is, if Dublin is as expensive as Milan. Okay, guys, you see what I did there?
Mm,
So we've used superlatives and we've used comparatives to compare something. But what do you want to do when two things are equal? So what I said, um, what Sean said, Dublin is as expensive as Milan. So if you can substitute the adjective and the noun, you could use it for anything. For example, my dog is as cute as my cat.
yeah. As and as is very, very important. It's important to have both before and after. Yeah. And then finally we have lively, which is kind of interesting because it's sort of the positive version of chaotic. Chaotic is negative and lively is positive. So I would say that Dublin, a lot of people think it's lively, yes. For me, I view it as chaotic. For me, it's not a positive thing. Do you feel positively about lively or chaotic for Karachi?
Well, it depends on the day.
Okay. Yeah, great.
We have some lovely comments from our students. Sonia says it's historical and touristy and a bit expensive. And Nico says his dream city is a big historical city with a lot of art, theaters, and activities.
Hmm.
Um, and Madalena says Toronto is polluted.
Hmm.
Um, Magdalena, absolutely polluted and dirty are mean the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
That,
should we start matching the
yeah, I
vocab?
think so. So large, big, and we also had enormous, ancient, historical, touristy, crowded. So lots of crowds of tourists, polluted, dirty air and water, chaotic, very busy or noisy, cultural, art, theatre, and music, expensive, not cheap, and lively, full of activity. So, very useful adjectives for describing a city, and I see that you've been able to use them well. So yeah, polluted and dirty, the same, really. Okay, so one of the. So, Michelle, how about you explain this slide?
Sure. Okay. So I'm just going to read off it first.
Mhm.
One of the. St. Peter's Basilica is one of the largest cathedrals in the world. The Louvre is one of the most famous buildings in the world. So this is a new structure, a different structure to use a superlative. You could say Sean is the best teacher in the world, or
Thank
you could
you.
say Sean is one of the best teachers in the world. Just remember that when you use this form of using a superlative, you need to put the noun in the plural, right? So over here we see cathedrals, museums, and earlier in the lesson we spoke of one of the most beautiful cities, right? So let's start filling these in.
Yeah. So we have all our adjectives, and so I think the first one, something is one of the most interesting places to visit in my city. It's a long adjective, interesting, so it has to be most interesting in the superlative. So again, can everyone please fill in the answer for their city? And we'll talk about ours. So let me think about Dublin. Um, I think Trinity College is one of the most interesting places to visit in my city. It's a historic university, and it's the university I went to actually. So great,
Oh
very,
wow, Sean!
yeah, yeah. It's not that difficult to get into, but anyway. How
But the
about
name
Karachi?
holds a lot of weight, so congratulations.
Yeah, good for me on that one. In Karachi, the most interesting places.
The most interesting place to visit in my city would be the food street is one of the most interesting places to visit in my city. There is a street in my city which is a pretty long. It's about um, 3 blocks. It's just one
Mm.
street that goes around 3 blocks, and it's just food, fresh food that's prepared right there.
Oh,
You can see them making the food, and you get barbecue, an amazing barbecue. If you're vegetarian, you can see them prepare your vegetarian dish. It's a lot of fun, and it's a really interesting place because you see so many different ways to cook traditional food. And of course, there are desserts served as well. So, as you can tell, I love food.
no, it sounds amazing. Sounds delicious. Yeah. So, the next one, something is one of the most touristy places in the city. I would say that in Dublin, the Guinness Storehouse is one of the most touristy places in the city. It's where they make Guinness, and you can go and
Mm.
visit, and it's what all the tourists do. I've never gone to this. So in Karachi, is there anywhere very touristy?
I think it would. I can't think of a place that tourists flock to be honest.
Okay,
But the founder's house is pretty famous, and tourists do happen to drop by occasionally.
okay, good. So we have some answers also. The Upper City is one of the most interesting places to visit in my city. Yeah, I've heard that the Upper City in Bergamo definitely
Mm.
particular very beautiful.
I've been there, and it is absolutely breathtaking. It's
Oh,
it's
great.
beautiful.
Breathtaking, a great adjective. Just it takes your breath away. It's so
Right.
incredible.
It's so beautiful. You go like that.
Yeah.
Ariana says Duomo is one of the most beautiful places to visit in my city. Absolutely. Magdalena says the Museum of Greece Gold, ooh, gold is one of the most interesting places to visit in my city. That sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Ancient Greek gold.
Hmm.
So the question is it the Museum of Greece or is it the Museum of Greek gold?
Yeah.
Right? Because Greece is the name of the country, but if you were to use the adjective, it would be Greek, like Italy and Italian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Madalena says the city center is one of the most touristy places. Ariana says the tallest building is Torre Vascala, Academy Carrara, the beach,
Beaches.
mm, Unicredit Tower, the tallest building in Italy.
Oh, is
Uh,
it? Okay. Gallipoli is one of the most beautiful beaches in my country. Yeah, if you're talking about all of Italy, yes. If you're talking about where you come from, no. In Italy, in English, we don't use country to talk about a specific part. A country is the whole nation. So the nation of Italy, the nation of Spain, the nation of Great Britain. So if you're talking, but maybe Gallipoli is one of the most beautiful beaches in all of Italy. I'm not sure. It could be.
it could be.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
The Old Town is one of the best places to eat in my city. There you can find a good restaurant.
Mm,
Lovely.
yeah, great. Okay. It's
Italy.
I have not forgotten. Have you forgotten? Yeah. What's the word for meraviglia in English? We
Marvelous?
it
Awesome?
wonder. I
Wonder.
wonder. Yeah. So of the wonders. So the country of the wonders, and we work
Oh,
on Via Meravigli.
ooh,
So the Street of Wonders. There you go. There you go. Okay. Great.
fabulous.
Yeah, so it could be marvelous or fabulous or just as a noun. It's a wonder, a wonderful thing. Yeah,
Mm.
great. We also, I think bad is interesting. This is very irregular. So what is one of the worst places in your city? So the superlative is worse. Worst, and the comparative is worse. Yeah. So what's one of the worst places in Karachi, Michelle?
I would say the, I don't know. Okay, I'll pick one. I would say in the industrial area because there's a lot of pollution there. There are many, many factories there. So, and that entire area, which is two neighborhoods,
Hmm.
all they do is manufacture things there. So the area is pretty polluted.
Hmm. Okay, we're getting the life story here a little bit, different parts.
Hmm.
If for Dublin, I would say the worst part is actually a part that usually the tourists like, which is the south side of the city where all the rich people live. But I don't like it because for me, it's not the real Dublin. It's not. I don't like the people or the atmosphere. For me, it's not very authentic.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's sure.
Okay, so we're running out of time here. So I hope you enjoyed today's webinar. We looked at some good vocab, some good adjectives, and of course our comparatives and our superlatives. But you all seemed to have a very good grasp of the grammar around comparatives and superlatives, and you all spoke very well about your cities. Anything to add, Michelle?
No, Sean, I think you've covered it all. Thank you for joining us. It's always great when you guys interact with us, and thank you so much for sharing. We hope you have a good evening, and we'll
Yeah.
see you around.
Yeah, bye everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.